Well, thank you for joining me. Chapter 1, Confession. All stories have a start. This is my story. Like most typical 80s kids, my parents split up. I lived with my dad. My dad worked hard, resulting in me being a latchkey kid. I was no different than any typical kid. Very average, in fact. I hated school and it hated me. Chapter 2. Quite regularly as a kid, I'd lock myself out. With no one home, I could be locked out for hours. I had enough. I got tired and tried the garage door. I got up and tried the garage door. It was unlocked. People often leave side doors, delivery areas and garages unlocked. But garages are no warmer than doorsteps. I walked out and went round to my dad's house. The bathroom window was slightly open. Access is not always easy. Be prepared to be or to do uncomfortable situations. I jumbled that, apologise. The bathroom window was your typical 80s style. Slightly rotten wood, horrid, oblong, skinny-shaped window. It was also high up. Could you open it and climb in? If a cat can get its head through, it can pull its body through. I don't think this is the same for a human. But I wanted to try. Back to the garage, I grabbed the battered old paint-splattered ladder and carried it round to the window. I placed it up, climbed up and took a close look. Falling doesn't cross your mind as a kid. The catch was on and fingers couldn't be squeezed in. A screwdriver might fit. Once back from the garage, screwdriver in hand, back up the ladder, the screwdriver slid in nicely. A bit of force and the catch slid up. Beating a problem is a buzz you don't forget. And with that, the window opened. I slid my cold, wet body in the dark, tired, wet, but not stuck outside. Chapter 2. This is a hard presentation for me to give. A few reasons for this. Fear. I feel that others do physical security probably better than me. There's 2 experts sitting in this room presently who do this. I won't point them out. I don't use toys. I tailgate with style. Fear. I cannot mention any details or I could be liable. Some of you, most of you, may be thinking, who the hell am I? I'm Neil Lyons. I work for Raytheon. Over the last few years, I've presented a lot on remote SC. Remote SC is a really, really easy subject for me to chat about. I absolutely love remote SC. Definitely one of my passions. But to date, I've never spoke about the fact that I also get out of my seat and travel when required and blag my way into environments. I don't care what you call this. I call it on-site SC. For legal reasons, all work was carried out under signed authorisation. Chapter 3. I lost count how many times I've done on-site SC, but I've gained physical access into private banks, media firms, government, industrial, factories, medical facilities, and lots of private and public sector offices. The start. This may surprise you. I don't particularly agree with on-site SC always. The reason for this, picture Russia, North Korea or China, cyber armies. If you think for 1 minute they would consider on-site opposed to remote, I think you're a little skew. Also, Mr. Robot. While entertaining, I personally feel it's created a muddled picture of on-site SC, which some IT professionals seem to be inspired by. Example 1. Elliot from Mr. Robot created a Wikipedia fake page insinuating he was an IT rock star. He then walked into a data centre and suggested to the receptionist to look him up. The receptionist is so impressed by his IT status, he's given a guided tour by the CEO. I've learned the hard way. If you talk to a receptionist, your chance of getting in just dramatically lowered. I find the best way in is to simply not talk. Example 2. IT leaders' pre-perceived ideas. Can you pretend to deliver pizza? Yes, I can pretend to deliver pizza. But the question is, where does this scenario go? Let's take a look. So you walk into a reception area with a pizza box. The reception operative will look at you odd. Consider this. How often does your reception get a pizza delivery? Secondly, if they do get deliveries of yummy pizza, will they just let you past so you can take it to the person you're pretending it's for? Most likely result, reception operative will look at you blankly, followed by no one ordered pizza, followed by an uncomfortable silence. Anyone could walk into the reception area and get stuck. You don't need a pizza to help you do that. Chapter 5. During reconnaissance periods, I've walked into reception areas dressed in scruffy clothing, which I call my weekend winter-summer collection, and asked the reception operative if they have any jobs going. Asking for a job like it's the 80s, the internet's not a thing. Gets you a very funny look and a recommendation to check their websites. I've had people sort of say to me, you can go down to the library to use their PCs, and if you don't know how to use it, I can help you while I'm in a reception area. The reason why I like to do this personally, it gives me a chance to sort of have a look past the reception area to see whether they've got turnstiles, to see if they've got lifts, to see if they need card swipe access onto lift doors, to see how people walk in. I find it really, really useful. And there you go. This kind of approach gives you a feel for how you may get in. People tend to see clothes. I've turned up a day later in a suit and just walked in. Obviously, Google Maps, especially Street View for Recon, can also help. Chapter 6. Originally, I used to overthink jobs, and that messed up. The first job. Backstory. Target was an insurance office. Quick recon on the target using Google revealed the main entrance. LinkedIn revealed the CEO's name. I spoofed an email from the CEO the day before. Big IT project going on. IT contractors will be in, blah, 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 blah. Costly project, so don't hold them up. Give them a pass with full access. Email was sent very late the night before. My reason for that is, so my concept was, if you send it to them, let's say 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they've got a good chance they can check it up. If you sent it very late at night, it'd be the first thing they get in the morning. They'd see this email and think, oh crap, I've got to just, accept this. And instantly I would be there. So my idea was I wouldn't give them time to think about it. I phoned them up on the way down as I was driving there. Receptionist picks up. I start talking. I'm the contractor. I mention the CEO's name. Receptionist, oh yeah, we're expecting you. You can park out front. Wow. First on-site SC, I rock up and even get parking. But unfortunately, this is not how the story ended. I drove up. I parked right outside and instantly needed a wee. Even the cocky get nervous. Busting, I jumped out of my car. Mistake. Never rush. I walked to the main door, still busting for a wee. I opened the doors. The receptionist was not quite what I'd pictured from the call. It's too late now. I carried on. I just basically tried to blag my way in. Hi, I'm expected. He looked up and explained that he worked for security and was filling in for the receptionist while they're on their break. Stumble. I tried to wing it, but the security guard hadn't read the spoofed email and he replied, I don't care what you say, you ain't getting into my building. I'd like to tell you there was a happy ending to this opening story, but I won't lie to you. Failing feels crap. Chapter 7. A friend of mine told me a story. Long story cut short. Most of his internal tests he would attempt to just walk in, bypass the reception area and find the client sitting at their desk. I admit I like this story, so I tried. Chapter 8. The job was close to home. It was a standard internal. I was feeling confident and wanted to test the just walk-in theory. I spotted from the car park employees using a back door. I walked up slow. I joined others walking up. I slowed a bit. The target employees went ahead of me. The person in front opened the door. They all walked in and the last person held the door open for me. I had just entered an office area, bypassing the reception area. Typical office, once inside, was very limited security restrictions. I had full access to the building. Chapter 9. Client requirement, access the back office in one of their restaurants. This was a hard target, not because of any particular security measures, but because it was a simply unusual target. During the recon time, it was possible to find examples of their internal security cards. People will regularly show their cards on things. You see it on LinkedIn all the time, people going, you shouldn't have shown your cards to people. And they're like, why? It's because of this. I created a spoofed internal security card, matching their lanyard and everything, ready to attack. I walked in early to the restaurant. It was not officially open, but the doors were unlocked. I spotted an employee. She spotted me. Time to perform. I walked up holding my spoofed ID card up for her to see. I made the card using MS Paint, and I printed it on my home printer at home on a piece of A4 paper, cut it out. My kids were laughing at me as I was doing it, going, what the hell is that? And I literally had a normal card, and I just rested it over the top and sort of locked it into the card holder. I've done that many a times, got into many security environments, unfortunately doing that, just literally wave the badge, they open the door and let you in. It's rare people actually ask to hold the security card. Of course, if they did, it would have fallen apart in a hand. I'm from IT. I'm here to do a network audit. I need to look at the APs and check the office. Those are Cisco APs. When you walk into somewhere, you very quickly spot what you can use. And if you have to, you'll just use it. Anyway, I started tutting at the APs, going, I can see instantly what your problem is. Is your network really slow? And she's like, I don't really know. Well, they're too close together. You know, it's clear what's wrong, and I reckon they're on random channels. I didn't wait for the reply. I turned around and started tutting at their APs. She walked off and came back with someone and introduced themselves as the manager, and then asked, what are you doing? I'm here from IT to do a network audit. I need to look at the APs and then check out your back office. Looking unsure, but he sort of said, yeah, go on then, carry on. I've learned sometimes you need to be very quick. People can change their mind fast. I walked into the back office confident like I had many times before and plugged my laptop in. I don't have time on this talk to talk about what I do following plugging my laptop in, but on previous talks I've given, I've said that it can take as little as 30 minutes from plugging a laptop in a rogue network to me getting domain admin, and I find that probably 98% of my tests I've done, I've got domain admin in about that amount of time. Chapter 10. The client requirement, see if you can access the on-site offices. This had limited recon time, and sometimes you'll find that clients won't see the value in recon, and they'll just go, nah, wing it. And you try and sort of encourage that reconnaissance period is really required, it's really important, but sometimes people just won't listen, so you just have to go with what you're given. This was one of those. When I say limited time, I pretty much had none. Google Street View showed the target area was massive. You could see a main gate used to enter the area. But there was nothing really of help from looking at Google Maps. You get that a lot. It's 50-50, I find, whether it's actually helpful. I turned up early and parked down a side road. There was no shops, bars or buildings right in front of the main entrance. You can commonly use such opportunities to try and get a better view of a target. The closest building to the target was a petrol station. The petrol station employee was useful when quizzed about the target firm. He replied that the target employees often come in at lunchtime to grab coffees. It was far too early. I couldn't hang around there for like 3 or 4 hours. It would just look odd. So I moved on. The lorry depot was massive, too large to walk around. Thinking I had little to lose, I just thought, stuff it, I'm going to start to walk up and try and get a look at the actual entrance to see if there's any way I can just walk in. The plan was simple. After 15 minutes of walking, I finally came up to the entrance. As I approached, I could make out high turnstiles for employees to walk in. As I walked past, I could see there was 2 security operatives sitting in a kind of glass, kind of mini sort of tower box thing, and they were watching the trucks coming in, and they were watching the people using the turnstiles. Trucks could drive up, but they were stopped by a barrier, and then security got out, and they checked the trucks. I carried on walking, and some more walking. Finally, I reached the end of the target's property. From my walk, I had no idea how to get in. Then I'd seen a sign. It would be rude not to take a stroll along, right? The path was muddy, no good when you're in office clothing. When you have no idea of what the inside environment might sort of wear, you kind of have to just think they're probably wearing smart clothes. So unfortunately at this moment, you need to picture the fact that I'm walking down a really muddy path wearing a suit. What was good, the path followed the lorry depot's perimeter fence. And the fence was getting noticeably lower the deeper I walked down the path. I ignored the sign and jumped the fence. Best way to describe the other side of the fence: muddy, wet, steep hill climb full of trees. And that's what it was like. After nearly 30 minutes of slips and slides, I made it to the top. As a teen, I read very few books. 99% of the books I read had no impact on me. Of the 1% that did have impact on me, I'd like to quote from this book now. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do. Now looking back at it, it was a bad idea walking up a big hill next to a lorry depot. And as I looked over the edge of a cliff into the lorry depot, I did think, stuff this, I don't want to die. Now, I was running out of time, but I generally pretty much refuse to give up when I'm on a job. So if I can, I'll go right the way to the very end. I've sometimes finally got access to something within 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the allotted time ending. And it's just because I don't like to lose. So I went back to the way I came, down the hill and walked back round. And by luck, always take a lucky chance if it shows itself. A lorry had pulled up the main entrance and was presently being inspected by security. I slowed, noticing the security were just about finishing and starting to walk off. I walked up quick behind the lorry. I tailgate people all the time, but tailgating a lorry was a first. The security gate went up, the lorry pulled forward and I walked alongside it. And in. Once past security, I was able to walk around the outside office areas. I got access into a porter cabin to start with, but there was nothing inside it. So I walked back out and up to what looked like a back door, leading from the employees' car park. What was amusing was the glass sort of security environment, call it what you like, viewing gallery, they could see around 365 degrees. So they were sat there the whole time watching lorries coming in, and I'm just walking backwards and forwards across this car park, going into porter cabins and other little rooms. Leading from the employee car park, and I waited outside a door. It didn't take long until I could hear someone coming from the inside. I'll often, like toilet areas, outside lifts, in offices and stuff, I'll literally just stand right behind the toilet door. It's pretty creepy, if you think about it. I'll stick my ear to it really close. I'm a bit deaf, so I have to get it right in. And if I hear someone coming, I'll just open the door and pretend I've just been to the loo. And hopefully, I've had this many times where I'll open the toilet door, and that door, which has got a card swipe in the reception area, is just starting to close, and they're coming through. So I just walk past, right, straight through that door, I'm in. Anyway, on this job, it didn't take long for someone to come, and that bypassed the card security door. I just nodded and walked in. A few seconds later, I was inside, and I started asking employees if they had any IT problems. I tend to do that a lot. Once I'm inside, I suddenly become like alive. I start talking to people. I quite like it. I fixed many printers while doing on-site SC. That's actually not a joke. That's true. Right, chapter 11. I get this a lot, and I shouldn't say it bothers me, but it kind of does bother me in a way, because the people who say, here you go, I hear people arguing about what is on-site SC a lot. I've been told that what I do is physical security by one person, and another has said it's SC. What's amusing is the people who've generally argued and dragged me into an argument that I had no interest in getting involved with, a lot of web app testers. So I'm thinking, well, you've never got off your chair in your life. So it's like, you can call it what you like, but here you go, this is my reply. I don't really care what you call it, but I'll say this. Yes, I tend to preference sneaking in. So I'm a bit creepy, and I'd rather not speak to people, but which obviously doesn't require social engineering. But some of my SE engagements have lasted a week on site. You'll get a lot of clients who'll say they'll do some of the jobs I've had are SE jobs tapped onto internal testing. So they'll go, oh, you've got in on the first day, congratulations, well done. Can I have a security card now, so I don't have to keep doing that? No, you can do it for a week. So literally every day, I get off my train, walk up to their office, and have to blag my way back in again. You can't spend a week sneaking around an office, not talking to people, and that involves social engineering. Chapter 12. I've learned over the years I like to access roofs. I understand this will seem odd, but hang in there. I was on a really hard SC, gain access to a number of buildings in a short time. Commonly, clients will ask you to gain access into more than one building. I personally think this is quite odd thing to do. You know, you're very polite in a kick-off call or pre-sales call, and you'll say, yep, we can do anything you require. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you. But I always try and sort of advise what I'm basically about to say now. Generally, most networks are not, segmented. I hate to say, internally, once you've got access to one internal environment, most environments, you've got access to all of the networks, or all of the boundaries, there you go, all the network, you've got access to everything. So anyway, that's my reason why I don't personally see the requirement to get into this and this building, especially not day after one, day two, get into that building, day three, get into that building, and they're all really high secure. I just think it's like you're kind of creating a fail, and I don't personally see the point. Anyway, back to roofs. I was on my way back from a recon day. I was sitting on a train looking at Google Maps, making sure I didn't miss anything. It was a boiling hot day and the aircon didn't work in the train. This is when it hit me. The target was a typical city terraced office. So the roof area on Google Maps just looked like one long line. There was no separation between each roof. Now, I have spotted some people do put separation in between and put cages over their environment on top of the roof. That's smart. So that's just a random picture I pulled off because obviously I can't show anything legitimate. But if you look at the building towards the top there, it's a long line. Well, that could be a multi-tenanted building with as many as 20 different clients inside. So while the target building that I was going for had turnstiles, 24/7 presence, the whole 9 yards, you can bet there would be a way to the roof. Now, I'm not going to suggest I may have found a route to the roof via another building, because legally that would be grey. What I will say is people smoke, and in some city areas I found examples of people smoking on the roof. And fire exit doors to roof areas often get forgotten about. So let's just say if you found yourself on a roof, you may find a fire exit that's been left open, giving you a very easy way in. Chapter 13. The target business was a financial business. The client requirement, can you see if you can access our on-site office? This was really easy site. I arrived at 8 a.m. The target office had an on-site call centre presence. So there was lots of employees going in all the time, coming in and out, in and out, in and out. A number of employees were walking in. I tailgated in after them. There was no reception operative till past 8:45. So I literally did a little tap dance past and I took loads of pictures. Because when you do on-site, we have to photograph it to prove that we've done it. So not only are we creeping around, we're also taking sneaky pictures. And that's what I did then. I walked past taking the pictures. So I used to hide once inside an office. Now I tend to try and be as visible as possible. I think it probably looks less suspicious. I found that if you go to a meeting room or CEO's office, as I've done, you find out pretty quickly. People go, "What are you doing in there?" Or, "Have you booked this room?" That's a good one. Or, "Can you move now? My time is, it's my time now. I've booked this room." So I just think, forget it. I might as well just sit in the open and see what happens. So on this occasion, I sat what appeared to be a hot desk right in the middle of the call centre. I plugged my laptop in, and shortly afterwards, I was DA. That means domain admin, by the way. Sorry, I should have explained earlier. On a Microsoft domain, it's on a single domain. It's regarded as one of the largest amount of rights that you can get from a domain account. It generally should only go to, you shouldn't really use it, to be honest, but it should only be used by an administrator when required, when the absolute something hits the fan. That's when you should use a domain admin account. Generally, you find that in majority of places I go to, pretty much every IT admin or even help desk member belongs to the domain administrative group, which is wrong, but I won't go on about that on this talk. Anyway, I noticed that my phone lit up. It was a text message. I picked it up and started to read it. That was when I heard heels. That clicking sound, and it was getting louder, louder, louder. And then it stopped. They were right behind me. I turned around. "What are you doing?" She was stood right next to me. "Me?" I replied. She didn't look amused. "Why are you using your phone?" Because I'm an adult. I received a text message and I wanted to read it. I thought, as I smiled, but said, "I'm in IT, sorting out a problem. I had to look something up." I smiled. She didn't smile back. "You should know better than anyone. No phones in the call centre." "Call centre, no phones?" I didn't reply, pointing out the irony of the statement. Getting to site early can occasionally result in an easy way in. Chapter 14. I've been asked this quite a lot of times. Honestly, when an on-site SE is coming up, I panic a bit. I'm quite a nervous person. People say it must be fun. I always get that all the time. "Oh, I want to do the SE jobs. They look wicked." That's something I definitely want to do. Of all the jobs I've done, probably only 2 or 3 of them I really enjoyed. But anyway, the stress involved with these engagements, people don't think about. We're under a lot of pressure to succeed. It's a hard one. If you don't get so-and-so access, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, the people are like, "Well, maybe you're not very good, or maybe you've done it wrong, or maybe..." So we always feel like great pressure to succeed. I think this is something that maybe people in the industry haven't spoken about. But personally, I feel under a lot of pressure. You also walk into an environment you have absolutely zero knowledge of. You could be questioned at any time. You literally walk through those doors. You don't know where you're going. It's hard. You can sometimes get floor plans. Posh offices, especially like London area, they'll often put their floor plans online for you to see. So you've got a good idea, but things can still change. Offices do change. People put temporary walls up and stuff regularly. Things get moved around. I keep going off track and thinking of a million stories I can tell you that I remember. I could be sued, so I can't. You can be set up. This is a good one. I often find that once I get access in and I get access to employees' email accounts, I find that I can go back through like a week before or a month before emails, and I'll see month after month warning that a security test is coming up and someone will be attempting to test people, and I see this all the time. I personally think it's important to educate people. I'm not so sure it's the right time to do it a week or two before a test, personally. Okay, personally, when I walk through a door during an SE engagement, my mind blanks. Probably shouldn't tell you that. I should probably tell you it moves at 1,000,000 miles a minute and I'm clocking every single thing going, but it doesn't. It just goes completely blank. I just focus on staircases, lift, or the person I'm tailgating. Chapter 15. Recon time is very, very, very important. Be a little careful of people who give you advice on the target. They can honestly be trying to help. People who might have done jobs before at a site that you're going to, that they'll try and help you. I had this one time. Have you ever been to the office before? What floor is it on? Yeah, he replied, yeah, been there loads of times, absolutely loads of times. I guarantee you, they're on the 5th floor, easy job, you walk in, straight in the lift, bang, you'll be in. No problems at all, 5th floor, can't go wrong. I walked through the reception area. It was a multi-tenanted building, commonly shared reception areas, generally soft targets, multi-tenanted buildings where you get all your different vendors in a building. The receptionists, they don't care. They're there for guests. If you walk through with any kind of confidence at all, I've not been stopped by one in the jobs I've done. I tailgated into the lift and got off at the 5th floor. As I said before, your mind goes blank and you just react. The client wasn't on the 5th floor, they're on the 6th. Authorisation will only cover your target, potentially not all floors of a multi-tenanted building. Chapter 16. Target, a global business headquarters. Recon showed they had turnstiles in the reception area. Google Maps, I could see it, zoom right in, there you go, turnstiles, I could do it for all the buildings. Backdoor also had turnstiles. I discovered that while on site, actually having a look on the Recon. I hate turnstiles, personally. I find them, the recommendation is put turnstiles in. Actually, they bug me. And I've been told by my colleague, just put your hand there and they'll open, apparently. Due to health and safety, if they think it's trapping a person, they'll just open. So I've always tried to just sort of almost dive through them and stuff and get hit and look like an idiot. I hate turnstiles. I've jumped over them on jobs. Weight trainers, soft trainers, so I land down quietly. Got away, that worked for me. Right, a friend told me how he bypassed turnstiles. I liked the idea, so I tried it. Midway through a lunchtime, I walked in off the street and walked up to the turnstiles and then turned and looked at the security operative and said, crap, I left my pass on my desk. I nipped out at lunch. Can you let me in? People started forming in a queue behind me. The security guard didn't look sure. Apply pressure. Come on, let me in, will you? Got a meeting in a few minutes. The turnstiles opened. I walked in. Right, that is 434 slides done in 29 minutes. I apologise. Insider, Part 2, users, will be presented at BSides London on June 6th, 2018 on my exploit 2600 on Twitter. Are there any questions?